ሰላም ጤና ይስጥልን ውድ የኢትዮጲክ ተከታታዮች፣ ከሰሞኑ ስናደርገው እንደነበረው እንደተለመደው የዲሲ ከንቲባ እጩ ተወዳዳሪዎችን ይዘን መተናል። ዛሬ ጊዜያቸውን አጣበው ከኛ ጋር ሊቆዩ ተስማምተው የመጡት ካንዲዴት ጃኒስ ሉዊስ ናቸው። I really appreciate Janice Lewis for taking your time from your busy schedule to come and address issues from the community, questions from the community. I'm not going to hold you up because I can see that you are driving on a campaign trail, and I really appreciate the time that you took off of your campaign. So I'm going to start with the questions. All these questions came from our readers. So to begin, please introduce yourself and tell us why you are running for the mayor's office.
Thank you. My name is Janice Lewis George. I am a proud third-generation Washingtonian, born and raised right here in D.C., a graduate of D.C. Public Schools as well as Howard Law. And I'm running for mayor to do what I've done as an organizer, as an attorney, and as a council member for Ward 4 the last 5 years. And that is to put people first. This election is about a very simple question. Who do you trust to stand up and fight for all DC residents in all 8 wards of this city? Who do you trust to deal with this affordability crisis? I believe that we can build more housing to lower cost. I believe that we can expand community solar and rein in Pepco's greed and make our utilities lower. And I believe we can have universal access to childcare for all of our families so that people aren't spending $2,400 a month or more on childcare, which is one of the highest childcare costs in the country. I also believe that standing up in this moment is in putting people first is standing up to this Trump administration. Complying in advance is not a strategy. I believe that we can use our legal tools to fight back against this Trump administration. I have been on the streets fighting with my community, being a legal observer. I've introduced legislation to end cooperation between MPD and ICE. And I plan to walk the halls of Congress myself to make the case for DC residents, to protect our autonomy, and to fight for DC statehood. And I believe this moment is about who do you trust to actually show up and make sure basic government services work. Make it easier for our small businesses to get permits and not costly. Make it easier for residents to use 311 and 911 and know that those things are actually going to work. Pick up snow or trash, or make sure our streets are clean and that we have the supports we need. That's what I've done for the last 6 years as council member. Use every legislative opportunity, funding opportunity, and tool I have to make basic government services work for all of our residents. And so I'm excited to step up in this leadership role, put people first, and make our city more affordable, stand up to this Trump administration, and make our basic government services work for all residents in our community.
Thank you for that answer. If you hear me in between the questions speaking Amharic, I'm asking our viewers to submit their questions in the comment box. ውድ ተመልካቾቻችን እንግዲህ ለከንቲባነት እየተወዳደሩ የሚገኙት ጃኒስ ሉዊስ ጥያቄዎች ካላችሁ በምታዩበት ፕላትፎርም ከስር በኮመንት ብታስቀምጡት በቀጥታ የሚደርሰን ይሆናል። So my next question, another question from our reader is, if elected, what would you realistically try to achieve in the first year? Like if you have to pick 3 items, what would those 3 items would be?
My first thing would be ending this cooperation between MPD and ICE and putting a new police chief in place who can restore the trust in the community and the trust within the police department so that our officers can actually make our city safe. I do believe that we can achieve opening up access to childcare for families, so making it affordable for families in our city to have access to childcare and expanding that subsidy. And I also believe that we can make sure we have a budget that funds our healthcare alliance program so families still have access to healthcare, fund our pay equity fund for early childhood educators, and make sure no one is on the waiting list, and make sure that we have the funds we need in this city to be able to keep our community safe. And so the new mayor, when they come in, will have a budget that they will have to do. They'll have actually 90 days to deliver a budget to DC residents. And so I will be delivering a budget that puts people first and doesn't balance our budget on the backs of working families.
Great. So some residents have been asking about the language, the communication barrier that they are facing when it comes. Okay, I have to transfer you. So yeah, some of our readers mentioned that they have a language barrier when communications come from the city government and city offices. even though some of them are translated into Amharic, they are not coherent enough for our community members to understand. So if elected, is there any plan for you to make this work for those that are of a low proficiency in English?
Yes. First and foremost, I want to make sure that we have members of my executive body, as well as members of DC government that reflect the Ethiopian and Eritrean community. And so I want to actually have staff members, a part of my agencies, who actually have the ability to speak Amharic. Because I find that when you have members of the community within the agency and government, they can help you better deliver those government, that communication, and show you the most effective ways to deliver that communication. The other thing is enforcing our language access laws that we already have in place, and making sure that they are ones that people are not just talking on the phone to somebody, but have actually people in person who can deliver the communications. And then make sure that all of the newsletters are available, all of the government communications are available in Amharic, and have individuals checking to see if this is actually accessible language, and actually reads well, so that people don't miss out on those opportunities. I want to build more relationships with our Ethiopian community through the Ethiopian Community Center, which has been a part of the community, but also should have more funding and more supports, and have meetings with our Ethiopian Community Center, and allow that to be a center for community members to come and actually access services.
Small businesses in the city, immigrant-owned small businesses, and any other small business for that matter, are currently suffering from lack of market, public safety issues, and permits, taxes, and things like that. What do you have in place for small businesses in the city?
Yeah, I want to make it easier for our small businesses to succeed in this city. And I'm going to do that by streamlining the process for small businesses. So a one-stop shop for all of our businesses here in our community. That means they don't have to go to multiple agencies to be able to get services, but one agency where they can get the work done. I want to make sure, in addition to a one-stop shop for licensing and permitting, that we reduce the red tape across the board. We also want to provide more help with for struggling businesses with rising rents by expanding tax credits and making more spaces available. So utilizing some of our spaces, government spaces, for small businesses to be able to utilize. I want to do things like allow for streeteries to be in our community, and support our small businesses being able to have more customers come to their businesses by promoting more community activities and festivals, like our open streets is an opportunity. Our Porch Fest is an opportunity. We want to make more community access to small businesses something, so that more residents, so more businesses can benefit from more residents knowing about their businesses and coming to their businesses. We want to invest in our funding for our main streets and our DC great streets, and do some of that work. And then we also want to make sure that we try to bring down some of the costs for many of our small businesses. So insurance costs are really high. Permitting costs are high, regulatory requirements are high. And so we want to bring down costs for our small businesses as well. And just make it a city where we say yes to small businesses by making it easier, making it more affordable, and making it a place where we bring more people and allow our small businesses to thrive.
All right. My next question has to do with emergency rental assistance program, which opened and closed in 2 hours last time it was opened, and also the LIHEAP for the utility bill assistance, which ran out, I think, this month. So what do you have in plan for those two programs, considering that now the federal government does not have enough support to supplement those programs?
Yeah, so our rental assistance program, we know that we need to fund greater, but we also need to fund other rental assistance opportunities outside of just ERAP, because emergency rental assistance actually only goes so far, and only a small group of people can actually qualify for emergency rental assistance, because the council changed the requirements after the pandemic was over. And so there's actually a very limited amount of people who now qualify for emergency. We know that there are many people who are struggling with rent and need better ways to pay rent through payment plans, et cetera. So what we want to do is open up more opportunities for rental assistance for people who are not just dealing with the very small limited emergencies, but people who are working towards and know that they are going to get future revenue. And so being able to be a sort of space where people can actually pay into and get rent and get their rent paid and then pay back into it so that they don't lose their homes or end up in evictions, which is important. LIHEAP is a program that's important. The issue there really is a systems problem. We need to get more money out the door quicker because we often actually end up giving money back to the federal government for housing dollars because we don't utilize them. So I'll make sure that we have the staff in place to get the money out the door more efficiently and more quickly for residents.
So some communities are living in a silo, and it's like there is a growing tension between communities of like immigrant communities and African American communities and between immigrant communities. How do you plan to bridge those gaps and to heal these seemingly divided communities?
Yeah. Well, we want to bring back celebrations of each of these communities' cultures and customs back to the communities and neighborhoods. So a lot of our community celebrations are often now downtown. And so we moved Independence Day for many of our countries downtown, Caribbean Day downtown. So many of our cultural events get moved downtown, which then become more of a tourist attraction and less of a community opportunity to be together and to actually learn about each other's culture and celebrate each other's cultures. So I want to bring back some of our celebrations to our neighborhoods where historically many of these communities are. So, we know that we have a large El Salvadorian community in Mount Pleasant, and that's an area that we can bring that back. We know that we have a large Ethiopian and Eritrean community in Ward 4, in Petworth, and in Shepherd Park, and in Brightwood. Bring back the celebrations to those locations, have community centers for each of these locations, but also offer the opportunity for the community centers to visit one another and open doors of conversation and avenue to be able to bring people together in those ways. But the more inclusive we make our government, the more inclusive we make our schools, the more inclusive we make our city, the more people are open to celebrating and learning from one another. And the more our leaders don't dive into division, but lead from a space of inclusivity, the more the community and the culture around the city is one of inclusivity and support. So the way I see it is that if we invest in all of our communities equally and we support one another and lead in that direction, we will see a difference in how we all come together. And it can be a really beautiful thing for our city. And we see it with our young people. When I grew up in the city, I grew up with so many people. Their families may have been from El Salvador or Ethiopia or families who were Jewish or whatever. We learned about each other's cultures. We celebrated it. And it was something that we saw as our strength. So let's make our diversity our strength again and bring our communities together.
Great. Quick question. What's your stance on AI?
On AI?
Yep, especially when it comes to implementing it in government offices.
Yeah, I think obviously AI is developing really rapidly and quickly. And I want us as a government to be thoughtful about how AI is utilized, to be thoughtful about what security threats are posed as a result of that, to be thoughtful about people's jobs and what it takes for us to be a community that allows people to have living wages and have real jobs in the city. So I am one that wants to explore AI and see what benefits it can, but also be very clear and explore what the detriment can be to our community. And so I want to take a cautious and thoughtful approach to AI.
Another quick question. What's your stance on taxes?
On taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that our city needs to have a fair tax system. And I believe that everyone should be able to afford to live here. I don't believe we should be raising taxes on our middle class and working class families in this city. And I don't believe that that's the way that we achieve an affordable DC, because everyone we know is feeling this squeeze. I do believe that corporations need to pay their fair share. and out-of-state businesses who have not been paying or supporting DC need to pay their fair share. But I want to be clear that I don't believe that our DC residents or DC small businesses should take the brunt of that. But larger corporations and big businesses should be a part of paying their fair share and supporting the community that they make money off of.
So some opponents of that idea actually say that these decisions will push out these bigger corporations that employ many residents. So what do you say for those individuals?
They're not going anywhere. Just to be clear, they've said the same thing in every city. New York City, they say they're going to leave. LA, they're going to leave. DC, they're going to leave. They're not going anywhere. This is a talking point that is utilized to continue to allow people at the top to not pay their fair share. What we know is that the equity gaps are widening, and billionaires are becoming trillionaires, millionaires are becoming billionaires, and yet working class people are still finding it hard to afford everyday things like utilities and housing and healthcare and so many things. So we got to stop believing that lie, because as they've continued to gain more money, we are losing. So somebody's winning and somebody's losing. And I can tell you they're not. And they continue to use, they're going to leave as an excuse. And they're not going anywhere, because they're making a lot of money and they're still going to make a lot of money. We are just asking them to pay their fair share, just like the residents of this city pay every single day and are fighting to survive and deserve to be able to have one job and live and thrive in this city.
Okay. The next question came from many of service providers in the transportation industry, those driving for Uber and cab drivers and whatnot. And they are asking what your stance would be if elected about the traffic, the speed cameras, and all the enforcement that is surrounding transportation service.
Yeah, thank you. So I believe that we need to be a multimodal city. I believe that we need safe streets for everyone, every user of our city. And I believe that we need to work right now with Maryland and Virginia to pay their fair share. Because what is happening is DC tickets are higher because Maryland and Virginia drivers don't have to pay their tickets. And so DC, in order to try to recoup the cost they lose, because there's no reciprocity relationship with Maryland and Virginia, they make our tickets higher. So I believe that we could actually lower the cost of our tickets if we work out a reciprocity agreement with Maryland and Virginia, similar to DC. DC residents, we can't renew our license or do anything if we haven't paid Maryland or Virginia tickets. And so we need to have that same respect across the board. We need a dedicated revenue source for our transit system. And I think that if we can work out a reciprocity agreement, we can lower costs and keep our community safe.
Next question is, Mayor Bowser renewed a DC sister city relationship with Addis Ababa and traveled to Ethiopia as part of a diplomatic and trade mission. And current Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International and also the U.S. State Department have reported serious human rights concerns in Ethiopia, including arbitrary arrests, lack of rule of law, and things like that. And many consider the government back home as an authoritarian government. So do you intend to continue in the current mayor's path if you get to the office?
I want to make sure that we are focusing on DC residents, and we are standing with DC residents, and that all of our residents feel seen, heard, protected, and invested in. And so I will stand with the residents of DC, including our Ethiopian and Eritrean residents here in the District of Columbia, and listen to their concerns and make sure that I am addressing their concerns.
All right. Just now I received another question that says, you mentioned that the curfew that was set on the teen curfew that was set in DC is not appropriate, and our readers want to know your opinion on that, why you say specifically that it's not the right thing to do.
Yeah, so I support the general curfew that we have on our books as law in DC, which we've always had, a curfew that for young people during the weekdays and the weekends in the summer. What happened is the Trump administration and Jean Pirro, the U.S. attorney appointed by Trump, asked for an expanded curfew. And they wanted expanded curfew power in the city to be able to declare curfew zones anywhere throughout the city during different time periods that was able. I don't believe that we should be taking our public safety orders from Jean Pirro or Trump, because they don't have safety at the heart of the reason why they're asking for this expansion. So I believe we need a curfew, and our city needs to enforce our curfew. And I voted for it as a tool before, but the expanded curfew that Jean Pirro and Trump have been asking for from our city, I believe will lead our young people to being less safe, because these enforcements will be happening not just from MPD, but from armed federal troops, mass ICE agents, and federal troops. And I want you to know that none of these agencies are trained in de-escalation. They're not trained in working with young people, and they are not accountable to DC government or oversight. So if something happens to one of our young people or our community members because we gave them this expanded power, then it's on us as leadership. And again, I believe we should not be complying in advance with this Trump administration. They're not trying to keep our communities safe. They are actively harming our communities. So my position is that we don't expand any powers to give to Trump and Jean Pirro. We enforce the laws we have on the books and keep our community safe with the tools we have as a district.
Great. Another question from our reader is home valuation is lowering in the past couple of years, but property tax is ever increasing. Do you have any plans to match those two?
Yeah, I mean, we want to make our city attractive for everyone. And so what we're going to do, and the hopes is that values will go back up. I know there are some, everyone is dealing with the fact that interest rates are really high. So we can do work around interest rates and helping support lower interest rates across the board for our community so those rates can go down. We do have property tax relief for different individuals within our community. For example, our homestead deduction for seniors and people aging in place. Those are tax reliefs for properties that we want to continue to provide for district residents to be able to live and afford to stay here so that their property taxes don't displace them from our city, especially individuals who are on fixed incomes. But we want to make sure that we get more people to come to our city. And we're going to do that we're going to have a business development corporation that's going to have bonding and financing power to be able to reimagine our downtown and make sure we're making the right investments. We're going to leverage our universities and our hospitals. We have some of the greatest hospitals in the country here in DC and universities. We're going to leverage them to create more innovation districts across the city, create more jobs for people across the city, and make sure that they are able to expand and build housing so that there are more residents here in our city, which again will attract more people and allow our values to continue to rise. We're going to invest in arts and culture and music in our city, attract more people here for music festivals and theater and shows and comedy, really attract people and look at DC, not just a place with monuments, but a place with a rich history and culture, music and arts, and get people through the door. We want to leverage our sports teams, especially our women's sports teams, to bring more fans to the District of Columbia. And we want to make sure we create more jobs for people through our unions and labor. So I believe that DC has so many great strengths that we get to leverage to make our city even more attractive for people to stay, which overall will help everyone across the board. So again, investing in our community, investing in our people, leveraging our strengths will mean DC will be stronger and our economy will be better as a result of it.
Thank you. We don't have time. So one last question. What's your go-to Ethiopian or Eritrean place in Washington, D.C.?
Oh, my goodness. Where did we go the other day? We were just on 14th Street. We were just on 14th Street, 14th and U. 14th. Not 14th and U, 14th and what is that? V. 14th and V. Oh. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, it's right on 14th and V. 14th and V. You know what I'm talking about? It's right on 14th and V Street. My brain is like literally trying to remember. I'm going to remember in 2 seconds. Dukem Ethiopian restaurant. Okay.
13 and you.
13th and you, yes. It's right there.
All right. Thank you so much, candidate. I really appreciate that. You have 4 minutes. If you will have any lasting parting statement, take it away.
Yeah. So I want to let people know that this election is so critical and so important. And we need a mayor in this city who's going to put people first. And that's what I'm about, putting the interests of our people and our community first. And I know that government always talks about what it can't do. But to me, this election is about what government can do. We know that government can do more. It can make housing more affordable. We know it can make childcare more affordable. It can make it easier for small businesses. We know that it can invest in our communities and our young people in education and in jobs. And we know that it's a choice when government doesn't do that. I have been consistent in standing with the people. I'm not with Pepco executives and Washington Gas executives. I'm not accepting Trump donor dollars, because I want it to be clear to this community that I stand with you and that I will fight for you. And that I will fight for you against this Trump administration, but also against anyone who is seeking to harm our community through higher costs, through environmental injustices, through health inequities, and through education inequities. And so that's what this moment is about. I hope you all will vote for me on Election Day, June 16th, and rank me first for mayor. And I look forward to building a People First DC with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for taking the time to come down here and address issues from our community. ውድ ተመልካቾቻችን ስላዳመጣችሁን እናመሰግናለን። መልካም ቀን።